All right, a pleasant evening. It's actually late. It's about 11 p.m. or 11:07 p.m. to be exact. And I just want to take some time to reflect upon the past 4 days for the strike. My name is Zerkio Joseph. I am the General Counsel Rep for Bartica. And, for the record, I'm attached to the 3 Mile Secondary School. Now, this is our 4th day of striking in Bartica, and this is just my reflection of everything that is going on. Now, what we recognize is that most of the schools, a matter of fact, all the schools in Region 7, and I'm talking from Upper Maz, Middle Mazaroni, Lower Mazaroni, right, has somewhat been impacted by this strike. There is extremely low to some cases, almost no turnout to some schools. When I mean no turnout almost, it means like a school of 80 students may have like about 16. A school of 200 and plus students, a mere 16. School of 700 plus students, 100 and maybe 160, give or take. Right? We continue to see the impact around our community, and it's not something that I'm up here to really boast about, right? Because for me, and for every teacher that you see in the background there, and for those who may have stayed home, right, and maybe even for those who are in the classroom, you understand, they would not expect this strike to continue for so long, because all of us do have a passion for students, and it gives us no pleasure to stand on the front line, not be in school, leading up to a grade 6 examination, leading up to CSEC, and we are basically out here in the sun every day, seemingly like if we're having a good time. But it hasn't been good. Many of us are not feeling well, but we still brave our feelings to come out and to show solidarity with each other. And I think this evening I want parents in Bartica to understand what this strike is really about, and understand that the call is for you to come out in your numbers and support us tomorrow. Tomorrow we assemble at 9 a.m. at the Bartica Community Center ground, and then we go to our point whereby we usually carry out our sessions. Now, all of us have seen the impact of our students, our children being at home. I have 3 of them, that need to be home, and I know that, at this point in time with all the neighbors' kids, it's like holiday again. Holiday in the middle of the term. And that's never good for them. And therefore, I guess the same is felt by every, person in this community, every parent, every guardian. You just don't know how to occupy their time. And you also have reasons to worry about, loss to their learning. And so with that backdrop, I basically just want to say that it's time that we take a stand. I do not know if you had the opportunity to listen to the press conference by our Vice President and some of the sentiments he shared. And what I will say before the Vice President go to the media and say, we don't have money to pay teachers for X and Y reasons. What we're asking for, and that's what I'm saying, the reason for this strike, what we're asking for, we don't want to be in a classroom working, waiting until year end to hear that, we're going to give you 6.5%. Because we are an organized body and we have subscribed to a union, it therefore means that we should be a part of the decision making when it comes to our benefits. That's our constitutional right. And so teachers, we're standing on the front line for our rights because it's being trampled upon. So what I was suggesting just now, before you come to the front line, Mr. Vice President, and say to us, you don't have money to pay teachers for X and Y reasons, that's a discussion you should have called the union to have that discussion with. And then showing that there's no interest in having a proper dialogue, you concluded that all these teachers from the length and breadth of this country, you quoted a number of 6,000, and I want to trust. I want to trust your data. You understand? Of 6,000. That's almost 45% of the teachers based on your data. 45% of the teachers of this country is on the front line, striking each day. And I know there are many who, for some reason, may not be on the front line. And these forces are coming from all walks of life, all ethnicity, all religious background, all political affiliations, whether it's APNU, AFC, whether it's PPP, whether and every other thing that's there. And how can you conclude that this here is what I say, an opportunistically this strike is opportunistically supported by the APNU AFC? My brother, Mr. Vice President, you're a very respected man in different circles, but you cannot insult the intelligence of this country and teachers most of all. You see, sometimes when we as teachers, we are easily intimidated, and for the same reason, because we are grossly underpaid. For many of us, we cannot have a savings, can't even afford a savings, because we just have enough to survive, and by God's grace, able to make it through. Let me show you how things are, Mr. President and Vice President and all those cabinet persons who need to make this decision and who's delaying and suffering our children. Rather than play politics, even though this is a political situation, because it is politics that dictates how much you give to teachers and how much you give to infrastructure. It's politics that dictates all of that. But rather than look at teachers cry and plea as politics, think about what best you can do for your teachers, and not only for the teachers, but for those parents who are busy working and leaving their children home unattended. Who knows what dangers those students are exposed to because they are not supervised, because this is not holiday session. This is a school term. And if you claim to care about the people of this country, if you care about students and teachers and workers and all these things, you have to consider a number of things. One, this strike has impacted every single community financially. In some areas, there's no taxis can't work because there's no students to drop. Buses can't work because there's no students to take back and fro, and including teachers. Canteens and snackets can't make a profit because there's nobody to actually purchase the products. And this is what's happening in Bartica, and I know it's happening all over this country. And you were sitting back, holding a press conference, saying that you can't pay teachers, accusing the union of being motivated by APNU AFC, threatening the union to relinquish their registration or certification, to be exact, over the fact that you were claiming that there's no audited financial statement. You already said you're going to stop collecting our dues, which I still believe is an illegal act, because if I have given authority for it to be taken out, it should be taken out, just like bank loans and every other thing that usually comes out of our salary, based on instruction, and some without instructions. How can you say you care about the growth of this country, and you're talking about the billions of dollars and double times you pumped into the education system, and your focus, according to you, is for the children? What about the human resources? Have you taken time to assess what is really livable wages? And the thing is, I could never, as an independent thinker, I could never accept your analysis of what a livable wage is, because you yourself do not know what that is, because you have abundance. You have abundance. Every single minister that works for this country, you have abundance. Some of you may have had humble beginnings, but right now you have abundance, and I think that has clouded your mind of what is realistically comfortable. And to some of those naysayers, those persons who keep saying that, teachers, we having a good sap. Nothing is sapping about this sap, because the truth of the matter is, almost every sector in this country, especially public servants, are underpaid. And so it's not fair for you to measure teachers' sap based on another public servant's sap. Because those public servants are also suffering too and struggling. And sad to say, there seems to be no strong voice coming from the unions that represent those other public servants. And this is not an attack, this is just saying. But I'm making a point to give a contrast. GTU, Guyana Teachers Union, is one of the most active unions in this country. And it's because there's a strong support, as you can see today. If 6,000 teachers are out there, based on all the intimidation, threat to cut salaries, and asking GTU how they plan to pay the teachers $340 million per day for 6,000 persons who are out on the front line protesting for you to respect our rights and bring us to the table for collective bargaining. If you notice in all the posts that you see around, you hardly see a teacher even mention if they want 50%, 30%, 20%, because you know what? We have placed a reasonable figure in our multi-year proposal. And that's a starting point for you to negotiate. But the thing is, we are protesting because you have never called us to sit down and negotiate, which is our right, our constitutional right. And so teachers are standing up for their rights. And I want everybody in this community to understand our rights are being trampled upon. You listen to the newscast, you listen to the utterance of the minister, you listen to the utterance of the vice president. They are seeking to destroy our voice. Yes, I might use social media to speak, and that's not something I do very often. I may use, I don't know, the only social media I think I really use to speak. But I'm just one voice. I may inspire many, but the union is what protects us within the law to exercise our rights. And if you're gonna gag us, put a pacifier in our mouth, at least that's what it seems you're trying to do, by crippling the union, you're basically affecting my fundamental rights and the rights of every teacher in this country. And it's for that we stand up against. Because if you seek to treat this country so brutal that you're going to allow your education system to be disrupted for 4 days already. 4 days. And it's threats. No bargaining, no solution. You operating like your country people are terrorists. That's how you're behaving. And I want parents to wake up to the reality. Because by every action it shows that you do not care. Because who's going to teach the children? It's teachers. And if you care, you try to reach your teachers some way. I don't know how the negotiations will go, but we have some place to start. Let us reach. Parents, come out in your numbers. Do not give up in this struggle. Because you're suffering. We teachers are suffering. The communities are suffering. I'm calling on everyone. Taxi drivers, boat operators. Everybody in this country need to recognize what is happening before them. This is a full-out onslaught on the rights of the people of this country. The right to the student to receive an education. A right to everybody to earn. Because for over 3 years plus, our employers, this government, refused to bring teachers together in the form of the union to negotiate the benefits that they seek to give us. And every year, teachers sit down with anxiety, wondering what is going to be given to them. And that shouldn't be. We are professionals. Now, you're claiming that it takes so much money to pay persons who have degrees. That is such irony. Part of the growth of every system, persons need to become qualified. And as you become qualified, you are expected to be paid more. We can't suck in and blow whistle. And I cannot understand such a narrative that you can't pay teachers more because you need to pay persons who have degrees. I don't even want to talk about what are our resources that we have in this country, because that is, everybody knows that. Everybody knows the cry. But under such circumstances, you expect educated persons to buy into that narrative? That's an insult to our intelligence. The smallest man on the street knows that is nonsense. The international world that is watching know what is being spoken or given or displayed there is utter nonsense. It goes against all logics and common sense. Teachers, you are at home. Some of you have exercised your right not to take part in the strike. But tonight I ask the question, if not for this, what else do we stand for? If not for this, what else do we stand for? It is definitely not over a forced vaccination, because that has passed and we did not unite. It's definitely not an unjust treatment of a colleague, because I cannot remember the last time that we have ever united against such an action. But this one here, each and every one of us need to face expenses in life, the cost of living, the high inflation. If not this, then what? All we're asking for is a livable wage. All we're asking for is to be compensated for the work that we put in. I hear, as an argument, it was 4,000 teachers, only 70% of teachers, attend school on any one day. And you have to look into that. And then the narrative is given in such a way that maybe those 4,000 teachers are the ones who are out on the street. Come on. What's it we're really trying to do? You're trying to say all these teachers that you've seen here are the ones who usually be absent from school? They say a drunken man grabs at anything to live. I think the right thing is actually straws. And I'm seeing that my employer has no heart for this nation. My employer behaves like a young child, like a prodigal son, if you know the story. He asked his father for all the inheritance, and he went out and he squandered it. What am I saying? You give anybody access to more money than they ever had in their life, trust me, they will do things. They will do things. So there's nothing that you do with the money shows that you care. What do I mean by that? Think about it. Give me all the money that I could have access to, I'm quite sure I'm going to give some to those who need. I'm quite sure I'm going to fix the road in front of my gap. I'm quite sure if my engine is now working good, I'll upgrade it. I'm quite sure if I need some medication, I'll purchase it. I'm quite sure I will do things that could benefit me and also benefit others. But having money and spending it anyhow on all the things that I may need, not for a second, reveals what's in my heart. That doesn't mean that I love anything. It means that I have money to spend. I can't keep it all. And that's how I see you're operating with us. We have a lot of resources. And as a government, you're expected to spend it. But all I'm seeing is spending. But you're not showing love to the people of this country. You're not addressing the real needs of the people. In some areas, we need roads. In some areas, we need water. But in every area in this country, we need teachers. So tell me, where do you spend your resources? In every area, or just some areas? Look, I'm making an appeal to the government of this country. Let tomorrow be the last day that we stand on the front lines. I have no authority to speak on behalf of the union and what it expects, but I could speak for me and I could speak for the teachers that I represent on the local level. We want to go back to class. We want to go back to class. But our rights need to be respected. I am prepared to stand up for my rights. Some may cower. Some might be intimidated and afraid. For some, it might be just too much for them to lose. But if we only surrender now, I want you to think about it. You guys see the picture now. The thing is, these things I'm telling you, you know it, but I just don't understand what social experiment that you're trying to play. And sometimes I don't like to see, let me be honest with you, and allow me to stray, because, after all, this is my video, and who don't want to watch it could drop it. You understand? But at the end of the day, let's think about this. I was driving down that's Road by Coffee, Homestretch Avenue. And I look up and I saw a signboard with the president of the country. And the bus came to a stop right by the stoplight. So I had a little time to look at it. And in my mind I said, you know what? What if God has placed this man at this time to be our leader? And a calm thinking and a voice said to me, put away all your biases, your prejudice, and allow this man to function. Because even if I don't like him, even if I don't trust him, I'm just being honest with you, At that moment, something was telling me, allow him to be the leader of this country. In other words, be the leader of me. And from since then, I changed my prejudice and my biasness towards the president. And I watched and observed, reached out. That's why when he made his first announcement last year about raising our salary scales up to the maximum, I did a video to him and asking him to do not forget collective bargaining. Because really and truly, all I wanted to do was to give him good advice, because that was the purpose that day when I took a look at his image on a billboard. All I desire is the best for you, Mr. President. And tonight I'm making a call. Do not disappoint. Do not disappoint. Over the past couple of years, you've been building relationships in all quarters of this country. Persons who don't like you because of political persuasions and differences of opinions and ideologies, they are embracing you. Why would you allow pride, a social experiment, a baseless accusation that teachers standing for their rights, standing to be respected, demanding more, is a political expression? And you prepare to allow your country to suffer. Everybody in this community is suffering, Mr. President. And it's time you come out and speak to your people. I don't know the rules and all these things that exist within your cabinet structure, but you're the president. I see you visiting places and 6,000 of your teachers across this country is out on the streets and you haven't addressed them as yet. That's not what a leader ought to do, Mr. President. I expect better from you. I took some time, as I said to you, to hold you in high esteem. Don't let my hands fall. Don't drop the ball. This country is fragile. Fragile. All the money in the world, but yet fragile. You have to prioritize your people. Scale back on all those infrastructure spending. Scale back on all those loans you're taking. And prioritize your people. How come people talk about teachers receiving house lots? Was it given free? How can teachers afford to even bill on those house lots? With what salary? Nothing was done to make teachers' life better. I could say indeed, to some extent, there are policies out there by the CEO, and I must compliment him for it, which makes education more sensible and more practical, and a little less stressful. And those policies will take time to bear the fruit and give the result and the impact be felt. But from an academic standpoint, you could look at it and see that these are things could work. But what have you done for teachers? So, Mr. President, I have high expectations of you. I don't want to talk whole day, whole night. I could go on forever and ever and ever until the day I die. But the president, it's time that you wake up. Forget about that hierarchical structure whereby your vice president do a whole lot of talking. You need to speak, Mr. President. It is your people that is suffering right now. For 4 days, your teachers are out of the classroom. Your students are out of the classroom. The small man in the street can't make a profit because there's no movement of people. Where there's no movement of people, even cash flow is reduced. And I am yet to see you stand up and speak to your people. Stand up and encourage teachers. You allow your vice president to come and talk all these, he could call them facts, but that's not reality. Share trajectories and possibilities and threats. Which union could pay $360 million to teachers per day? That is your responsibility, Mr. President. And are you prepared at the end of this to cut up teachers' salary because they stand up for their rights? And you know that we are standing on legal grounds. You want to tell you how I know? You know? Because your vice president did not even quote a single law that us as teachers, that we have broken. If you are all sure and clear that we have an illegal strike, you understand? You will start quoting, we violated article, whatever. But you didn't. It tells me that you're thinking intimidation and we return to the classroom. Let me tell you something, Mr. President. With all due respect for your office, it was teachers who taught you. It is teachers. Whatever courage you have, we help to foster that. And whatsoever you think you have right now, the same thing that is in you is within me and many other teachers. In time of crisis, you have two choices. You could either flee or you could stand up and resist. My teachers are resisting. 6,000 of them according to your data. The parents are watching. They're keeping their children at home. And for the few that send their students to school and not being taught, I could imagine the number of social ills that are occurring in school. Mr. President, your cabinet is allowing something to go a little too far. Bring a swift end to this. Bring a swift end to this. Because this will turn into a movement. And if it picks up momentum, Mr. President, you have more to lose than gain. And I know you understand what I'm saying. And every right-thinking citizen of this country understand what I'm saying. No wise government will allow something as simple as bringing teachers to the bargaining table. That's all we ask for. That's all we ask for. Bring us to the bargaining table. A simple thing like that. Whatever disappointing information you have to share it at the bargaining table. That's all we asking. But we're not prepared to sit down until the end of the year like we did for the past 3 years and even times before on the previous administrations and all the previous administrations. We're not going to wait and sit down and hear that you impose this onto us. Whatever you plan to give us next month, month after, end of the year, we must already know beforehand. You understand? Don't play games with our monies. Don't play games with our earnings. Because it was no game for us to reach where we are today. It was a struggle. So be courageous, my people. Parents of Bartica, students of Bartica, business community of Bartica, and all of those around the country. It's time for us to unite and stand against the trampling of the rights of the people and the teachers of this country. May God bless us as we stand in solidarity. But before we go, I don't know if I should still do it because I had it queued up, but I got too serious. I didn't want to get too serious too fast. But this was one from our protest today.
When Ali wasn't president, we know what we should get. Oh yeah. Now Ali is the president, it seems like we forget. 6.5 can't work. 6.5 can't work. 6.5 can't work. 6.5 can't work.
You heard that? When Ali was not the president, he know what we should get. Now Ali is the president, it seems like he forget. I know you haven't forgotten. It's been out there too much for you to forget. We have the receipts. But all we're saying, let us reach at the bargaining table. Let me tell you something. I want to have confidence in you, to be honest, Mr. President. But if you allow this to go on so long, you understand, it is showing me a side of you that I have to consider. You understand? You cannot allow your people to remain broken. You cannot allow your economy to become fractured. You cannot allow the children of this country to suffer while persons play politics. So make a political decision, but don't play politics with this situation. Have a wonderful evening, one and all. I see you out there. Tomorrow the struggle continues. Teachers, be brave, be courageous. Come out in your numbers and support. I wish you all the best. May God bless you. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful night rest whenever you watch this video, whenever I upload it. I hope that the president hears it and the people of Bartica, you react to it. Thank you.